So the other day, we took a look at a story in where a 16-year-old boy was stabbed to death, allegedly over a fake Gucci pouch. But this wasn't the first time this year we had seen something similar. And towards the end of that coverage in where the 16-year-old boy had been stabbed, I mentioned this. This isn't just the first time something similar has happened though. Like I said earlier on in this video, in March of this year, Hussain Chaudhry, another teenager, was stabbed in the neck over a Canada Goose jacket. He would also sadly die from his injuries. Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, when I was recording that video, Hussain Chaudhry's murder trial was going ahead in court as 16-year-old Rishmi Singh had allegedly been stabbed to death over that Gucci pouch. So let's break down Hussain Chaudhry's murder trial to get a grasp of what exactly went down and try to wrap our heads around how the people involved got given a manslaughter verdict for stabbing a teenage boy to death over a Canada Goose jacket. 17th of March 2021, 18-year-olds Alexis Morris and Marvin Ward agreed to purchase a Canada Goose jacket from 18-year-old Hussain Chaudhry at his home on Leabridge Road, Walthamstow. You see, the jacket had been posted for sale on social media. Once the three had met, the jacket was tried on by Alexis and he claimed it was too big, so he asked Hussain if he had another size, which he did. The three, along with two of Hussain's friends, then go into his home, and after initially appearing willing to pay for the jacket, out of nowhere the pair backed out knives and started to threaten Hussain. From here, Marvin called a cab whilst Alexis demanded to go upstairs into Hussain's room, but proceeded to go on and search the house either way. Marvin by this point had finished the call and continued to hold everyone at knife point. Sadly though, this story was about to get 10 times worse than it already was. You see, Hussain lived with his mother, but she had been out around the time this was all going down. So when she walked in on the robbery in process, Hussain sprung into action to protect her from the intruders in the family home. It would be at this point Hussain's brothers heard the commotion and they came flying out of their rooms where they managed to detain Alexis. An altercation soon ensued and it spilled out into the street where members of the Chaudhry household were also seeking to detain Marvin Ward. He had attempted to escape the scene with the jacket in a waiting taxicab. During the struggle, Hussain would go on to be stabbed in the neck. Fatally, his mother suffered a serious injury to her thumb and his brother an injury to his hand. After hitting out on all three, Marvin fled the scene. Emergency services were called to the scene, but despite the best efforts of an off-duty doctor who was there at the time, Hussain died at the scene a short while later. As people had started to gather, emergency services arrived, and Alexis also fled the scene from an upstairs window of the property. Through CCTV and mobile phone analysis, both Alexis and Marvin were identified. They were arrested within 4 days. Alexis had managed to evade police by an extra couple of days, taking that number to 4. Because he had been hiding out at Anthony Nguyen's address in Luton. All three would then go on to be arrested and charged, but would deny the charges that were brought against them. After a trial at Wood Green Crown Court, however, they were found guilty on some charges. Anthony was found guilty of assisting an offender, whilst both Marvin and Alexis were found guilty of the manslaughter and robbery of Hussain. They were also found guilty for wounding Hussain's mother and brother. Marvin was also found guilty of possession of a machete in a public place. The judge then set a sentencing date for the 4th of February 2022. So a lot of people will be scratching their heads thinking, why wasn't they found guilty on murder charges, me included? But unfortunately, we only have the police report that gives us some insight to this situation. There was no reports from court, more than likely due to reporting restrictions. It was a fairly big story when it broke, so I doubt people wouldn't have gone to report on it. But I'm puzzled how they got off with manslaughter. The only thing I can think of is that they were going there for the robbery, which was true, and there was evidence we haven't seen in the public that showed they didn't want to kill that day. But because there is no in-depth reports, we can't see that, and we're just left with the police report, where to me personally, I can't see how the jury came to that conclusion, but of course they did. They were obviously presented with a lot more evidence. But for now though, give the video a like for more crime-related content like this, and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It's been me, Huncho, and I'll see you in the next one.